Today, you're now recording, so meeting was called to order at 3:07. In person, we do have some virtual just because of conflicting schedules. I want to thank everyone for meeting, with their subcommittees, everything that's been going on with that. And so with that, let's move into consent agenda. Has anyone been able to see the agenda packet? If anybody wants to make a motion on the minutes, I'll see it. Which I cannot do.
If you haven't had a chance to review and you would like a chance to review, sorry, not enunciating. If you would like more time to review, we can always move this to next month's consent agenda as well.
I haven't had a chance to review them. To be honest.
Right, well, want to move to next month? Do I need a motion to move? We'll go ahead and move into January's meeting. Subcommittee reviews. So we're going to jump into our subcommittee reviews. I see some missing people. So hopefully we'll be able to put piece the different committees together as we move through the agenda. Victoria, do you happen to have a little something?
I think on the agenda, Megan, you yes. That's okay. I know it by heart, so I can call one to start.
I'll go with survey first, which is me. Stick to the order. So the survey committee, I mentioned this last month, we were delayed in kickoff due to the storms. We actually met this morning and got about 99% done with the survey. We do have some recommended changes that I'll just mention for the benefit of the group. So we really tried to cut it down if at all possible, and shave off some questions. That was kind of our goal in going into this, and kind of wordsmithing, condensing words. So it's kind of making it less wordy, more approachable language as well. Not everyone is coming into the same reading and understanding level, so we just try to make simplified language. Some requirements we got rid of. One thing we noticed is that we had actually missed a race ethnicity of Middle Eastern and North African. That's been required by our health for the past few years. We have missed that, and so we added that in this year. So I don't think that had too big of an impact in our community, but still something we wanted to update. Also, veteran status. The question used to read, are you currently or have you ever served in the United States military? We've changed that to are you a veteran or currently serving in the United States military? As we are trying to specifically target those who would be eligible for services, or VA eligible for services, excuse me. For higher or for education, the grade question was, what was the last grade you completed? We changed that to highest level of education. And we kind of rearranged the brackets to elementary, middle, high, and the same continuing education that we've had before. The other question, we changed the wording on how we gather their information. So if question was, if housing related opportunities are available, would you like to be contacted to provide your contact information so we can contact you? Again, just kind of wordsmithed to, would you like to share your contact information for potential connections to housing programs and resources? So the same thing, just trying to make it roll a little bit better with the same outcome and result. We spent a lot of time chewing on what are the primary reasons that cause you to lose your permanent housing this time. That's always a hard question to ask and navigate through the questions of. So we've changed that to main. We also combined medical and disabling conditions together. And before we had natural / other disaster, we just fine tuned it to hurricane / natural disaster. So to kind of encompass that, clarify that, and also maybe a little bit easier to trigger that, oh, that box is applicable. One more that we combined was jail, prison / criminal history. Criminal history had been separate, we combined it with jail, prison, as it really is kind of the same option. We also had 2 specific eviction questions. How many times, if ever, have you been evicted, and how many in Pinellas, or has it been in Pinellas? We have combined those into have you ever been evicted? So this is in lieu of the 2 questions. We had some discrepancy. It was a self-reported number. I think it was 131 when somebody said they had been evicted 131 times. And there was also 110, I think, reported. So again, the numerical value amount might not be relevant. So we combined that. And also wasn't really being reported on in the annual assessment. If you know anything about the chronic, establishing the chronic, those questions are very weird and or they're just hard questions to understand, as is establishing chronicity with homelessness. So we used a little bit of word swapping, wordsmithing on that. And then last is for our supplemental survey, we had it identified as other adults or children. We changed it to minors, because they may not be their children, they may be minor. So they could be niece, nephew, daughter, boyfriend, whatever, you know. So that's the high level of it. So while it's been almost 2 full pages, I think it's gonna, we slimmed down probably 3 per question, to just kind of clarify the questions we can ask. I'm meeting with our survey developer on, he's just as the app development, Thursday afternoon and Friday to get it finalized in, and then we're gonna start doing beta testing or anything like that. Which utility has always been very helpful with in the past. I don't know if we wanted to use any additional licenses, if you wanted to open that up, or if you have people identified already in the HLA that could help us run some test clients.
We do have a few people from HLA, we can, if you have these licenses, we can maybe add 1 or 2 more for beta testing.
Okay, so we'll reach out if anyone's interested, let me know. We'll just like randomly enter your profiles for whoever you want and try to trick the system into crashing. I mean, that's your thing. And then also we're going to be translating it to Spanish in the app. We had done that in paper form, but we weren't able to do it in the app. So obviously, if I'm conducting a survey, typically I'm asking the question. I am not fluent in Spanish, no matter how hard I try. In that instance, you would be showing them the survey and they would be picking their points on that tablet or device. And then obviously we would try to put Spanish speaking, bilingual speaking individuals in those communities as well. That is it, I think, for the survey.
Yeah. On that note, the Spanish language, the 1 year we did do a Spanish language survey, we did not actually have anybody complete a Spanish language survey. If they did, our volunteer immediately translated it right there and then. So none of us ever knew it was a Spanish language survey on paper. So I am a little bit excited to see what that looks like this year. I do anticipate volunteers, because they're always concerned about this being a little bit like, wait a second, I don't want to show people my phone, I don't want to hand people my phone. So, you know, we will account for that. We will make sure that folks know that that is not generally going to happen. And if that is the case, if something like that does come up, that's exactly one of those reasons your team leader is there to provide support. And, you know, maybe they're the ones who do that survey. If you're not comfortable showing your phone to somebody. So, wanted to throw that out there so you have information.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next on the list, deployment. Seema, sorry, I know you're still settling in, but do you have a deployment update?
I think so. Let's see, turn around. I think that we have all the spots for St. Pete and for, North Pinellas, so, what is it? No, sorry. Mid-Pinellas. And. The one thing that I did want to get clarification on from the last meeting, is that there is not going to be a location for the youth pet.
So we would still be doing, the regular, like we did in years past, not like we've done for the last couple of years. Ready for Life and, Family Resources will still have somebody there for drop-ins in case somebody does happen to come in and want to complete a survey. But otherwise, no, we're not going to make a big event out of it. We're not going to advertise haircuts at Ready for Life, like we've done in years past. It's just going to be somebody on staff there, to complete those. And then, I'm gonna ask that our youth group, get together after after we're done here, when we do breakout groups as well, to discuss more specific deployment zones, but brief, but I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, do I have to jump in? So are we also doing phone call surveys as well for our, we were talking about this stuff?
Yes, so youth this year will be doing, somebody stationed at Family Resources, somebody stationed at Ready for Life, but just a regular team member, not a particularly special day, we have meals coming in, we have skateboards to raffle. There'll just be somebody there in case a client comes in to do a survey. And then we will also deploy folks out into the community to go to a couple of areas where youths are most likely to be found. And then in addition to that, Family Resources and Ready for Life will conduct phone surveys that Thursday and that Friday with people that they have pre-existing knowledge of. On that note, HUD does let you do phone surveys. They do not let you set up a hotline. So we, for instance, call the families on the family shelter prioritization list the Friday after it's on a Thursday, so our team calls on Friday so that we can try and conduct surveys with any of those families that didn't do one day before. In fact, we can do that because we have pre-existing knowledge. The VA, for instance, last year had somebody on site there where people walked in and could do a survey. That person could also do surveys over the phone, so long as it were with people they had pre-existing knowledge of, or people who just happen to walk in or something like that. It's just what we cannot do is set up a hotline that says experiencing homelessness, call in and do a survey. That's right, but our information, context, and
Yeah, one thing that I thought that I hadn't heard mentioned, is if in that heat map, you were able to determine based on age, where the youth were found, that would be beneficial.
That is doable. I don't have a lot of information to do that filter, but
yeah, we can definitely pull that from the map.
And then another thing to clarify is that, the times, we've got some start times that are pretty early. And we were talking about determining if we're reducing hours from 6 to 9 or 9 to 12.
So in a previous meeting, we had discussed our hours. Just want to make sure everybody, I know not everybody can attend every meeting, has this information. Last year, we identified that we had some overlap in shifts. We had some shifts that were busier than others, or less so. So we talked about changing the hours up a little bit. The decision was made to have it still be on one day with same shift times, but I think that we had talked about changing the number of folks that get assigned to those hours. And that would be a determination made by the deployment subcommittee, but it is something that we can discuss as a group here for larger input as well.
Okay, so I think the only one that we have that I am under the impression that Largo would like to keep is that they do have one that's still scheduled for 5:30. And that is Arrow,
There it is.
Yeah.
Damia, did you get my update I sent you yesterday? There shouldn't be any 5:30 a.m.s. They'll start at 6, I think, but I took some out and we don't need any in the evening. Oh, you know what? There is one in the evening. We've never done that one before. I'm not sure when that got added on. It looked like it was a Pinellas Park meal site.
Oh, yeah, that one got added last year.
That's what you're talking about, the evening one. Yeah. So I'm happy to like send people out with the stuff for that. I just, we haven't had that one before, but I'm happy to coordinate that too.
So I just want to make sure, Arrow, because I thought that I did the updates right, and I've got pay setters and for day labor and then 1764 North Missouri and the area around vacant Wells Fargo. That is still on here for 5:30 to 8 a.m. You want me to change that to 6?
Let me see. Hold on just a minute. I'm muted. No, see, I combined a bunch. Do you have the one that has the strike through and underline on a bunch?
Yes.
Okay. What line is it that still shows 5:30 a.m.? Because I'm not seeing that on this one.
Well, I'm looking at how I printed it out, which is probably different. I believe that it is L23, if that helps.
Yeah, do the one you have combines L5 with L23?
Yes, so you want me to wipe out L23 altogether?
It's combined. Yeah, so it's split between two groups. I kind of put it on there to show it was split between kind of combined with L5 and L9.
Okay, so I'm
So
gonna
the
remove L23.
yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
It can just be L5 now. I put that as a split so you guys know it's like I tried to make the areas a little bit bigger. Because I know you were saying probably fewer volunteers, but also we want to make sure the volunteers we have like are finding people.
Yes.
So so I made the areas a little bit bigger this year, kind of combined some.
Let's see.
The heat maps on where they actually do the survey anyway. So, but this will just show the volunteers where to go.
Yeah, and I don't have anybody yet that's covering Oldmore for like a,
PCSO covered that in the last few years.
yeah, I haven't gotten confirmation on what PCSO is doing.
For what they're doing.
I believe the last time we talked about it, you were gonna reach out.
That was about training, so they are absolutely participating, so,
Okay.
as far as I know, all the PDs are participating, the sheriff, well, H has asked that we send him the statement that we wish for the sheriff to make up the six meeting.
Yeah.
But that they were all on board and in support of it. I do have some slight concern with the 6 a.m. If any of those are in public spaces, then it will still be dark as part of the anti-camping legislation. But any of the public spaces are gonna be fine for this. That was the only feedback, just kind of skipping ahead now, so we did talk a little bit with the legality of us and municipalities and law enforcement participating in some time with the anti-camping legislation and how that will impact that. And basically was we would not know if they were sleeping because we're just conducting a day survey, right? So if we're out at 6 a.m., there's not a time because it's some up, right? Some down, some up. You might want to check the public spaces for when it's allowed.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, that is a great point. And it looks like sunrise is 7:18 a.m. on, that was 2024, January 30th, but I'm gonna say it's time next year. So yeah, sunrise will be a little bit after 7.
But it wouldn't be the labor ready, there wouldn't be any of those, it would just be like Largo Central Park, they're probably one of those early morning spots. Or Williams Park, those are the early morning spots that we're not, we should not be doing it.
should we be doing any?
Public we can.
Don't do some of the middle sites or don't do
It's a little early, so they can go there.
like they're kind of already municipal.
So I do now that we're talking about it, I do wonder, is there anybody who's unfamiliar with the anti-camping law as we sit here discussing it in vague terms? Okay, perfect. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so Florida passed a law, went into effect on October 1st, and it has made ensured sleeping in public, during nighttime hours is illegal, all across Florida. The Supreme Court passed a law or upheld a law earlier this year, ruling that, it used to be that it was cruel and unusual punishment to arrest somebody for sleeping when there was no safe options available for sleeping on public property. That is no longer the case. The Supreme Court changed that, I believe it was June, might have been July. And Florida law went into effect on October 1st. So public sleeping on public property during nighttime hours is illegal in Florida. As of January 1, local residents and businesses will have the right to sue local governments if they see people sleeping on public property. Now, there's a process for that. They see it, they report it. The city or the county has 5 days to cure the issue, which might mean moving the person to a different location or finding them shelter. If they don't cure it within that 5 days, then the local government can be sued for non-compliance with the law. So I just want everybody to have that information as we're sitting here discussing this in vague terms. It felt important to me that people know what those vague terms actually are. So that's going to be how many questions about that before we continue this discussion. Okay. So with that in mind, I would maybe be a little bit concerned now that we're talking about it, about putting volunteers out there, showing volunteers where folks are sleeping. I mean, I assume that everybody who's doing this out of goodness and whatnot, but I do have a little bit of that concern now that we're talking about it. I don't have any else feel.
Well, I raised this up with the HLA a couple of months ago, and I thought you all were gonna get with your legal team, but we did get with ours to discuss it, and that was the feedback we got. Because we would not know, we would be doing daytimes, that was the question that we had with the hotspots in general. Also, as when it comes to reporting, this is what you were gonna talk to legal about. The heat map will also show spots where people are, which would include public spaces, that could be used in the future, starting in 5 days.
That one we talked about, and the heat map they decided, yeah, that was okay, because that was, like you said, a daytime survey. But my only concern about that 6 to 7 hour is that we might be stumbling upon people who are sleeping. Am I overthinking?
No,
Yeah, I mean, I think the opposite of what
But then they get woke up, so they're,
is that we may miss a lot of people too.
yeah, just that 6 to 7 hours, people are getting them going to work.
Kind of get them where they're,
Yeah,
where they're at.
I come to work at that time, just make it look, I mean, and even with the, officers that were working, they're saying it's not gonna be a, hey, you're going to jail. Even if an officer picks them up, the goal is they're gonna lift them up first and say, hey, you can't sleep here.
I was wondering if get a consensus for Leah on the county.
So it was shared during the task force for the past week. Yeah, he was that. Happening now, or the minimum, it would be, municipalities are moving forward with the. Yeah. And that would be, so it's not gonna be first time sleeping overnight. And it's gonna be solution office It's gonna be shelter, may not be the shelter they want, but our shelters do fill capacity. Even technically our family shelters fill capacity, even though it's, but that was
So if it's Pinellas Park and they come across somebody that they've already seen twice, it's the third.
same location.
Right, but if it's the same, I'm just saying if it happens on the point day, they'll be arrested.
There is a policy, anybody participating in PIT, we are not out there to arrest.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to Leo season, because technically,
So there's a chance that people might be getting arrested
if we're in Leo season.
during our, while we're.
So you mean the people who aren't participating in PIT, just somebody from Pinellas Park PD?
Well, if we have PD that starts at 6 AM or
Okay.
7 AM, they're gonna come across people that are likely sleeping. So for that morning, is it just to move along, or is it if I've already seen you twice in this location, you get arrested?
Do they run their name?
They shouldn't be,
Is that a thing that they do, or no?
they should not be doing that.
Not for them, not for one time.
PIT should be entirely authentic space.
Because I just think that that's how they would know. Oh, stop, that if this is the time, by running their name, or maybe they've seen them, who knows, hopefully not, but. I hope we don't, so they think we need to say a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice if we could get a general consensus just for that day, regardless.
Right, so we're not walking across people maybe potentially getting arrested.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of our like action items and like we let them know is we would ask that the COC provide a letter to the sheriff requesting the support of the municipality, the officers across jurisdiction, but also that would be the enforcement approach of the
I make a motion for that. I do. All in favor?
So on that note, though, I think Lieutenant H has said it yesterday. I know Largo said it. I'm sure St. Pete's the same way as well, though in Clearwater is like services offered first, and then they have the choice to wake up and move on. And the last result is like if they're refusing anything, that's like general without point in time count. So it's not like, hey, your eyes were closed, I'm telling you off to jail. That is not the way they're taking. The jails it's over capacity as it is right now. So they're going to be trying everything they can to get compliance in other ways if they need to. On this count, literally, they're just having someone awake to answer a survey, which makes them not sleeping either. But I think we do have the issue. I think overall, there's just going to be a perception from the population experiencing homelessness. They're going to clam up more because they might be scared of it. But I don't think we're going to be in a situation where officers are going to be coming through arresting everyone.
But I do think we could still get that letter.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a good thing to get moving forward. If we do it 3 years in a row, so when I do it, why not? We can potentially do it. Okay. Oh, no. Let's see. And I'm gonna assume the PCSO is also going to take you to Dunedin.
Yes. They've gone into those areas. PCSO, does their best to fill in the areas they cover. We don't have volunteers specifically deployed to.
So are you talking, pulling them from the Clearwater list? Is what you're talking about? Clearwater, like I was in Clearwater last year, they didn't see more.
Yeah,
So is that on the list still?
there are two on the list for Dunedin.
And you're trying to find to there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I sent it to the property.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the driving. The Postmark driving down. You know, you're putting out for the targeting something later on.
Yeah.
That's something we're for consideration, as we move forward. If we have covered for it.
Well, I mean, that's what I was just anticipating, that we're gonna have potentially less volunteers.
Yeah, that is the
So
expectation.
then, if we have volunteers, then we would do, then it would be us, and if not, then we would defer, that would be our backup.
Yeah, that's a good plan. And for anybody who doesn't know, our law enforcement partners during HIT will go out, in groups, and they'll cover the areas that we don't have volunteers at. Law enforcement got significantly more involved in this process a few years back, and it was fantastic. I mean, we had surveys done in Ultmark the first time maybe ever back. And that was because of PCS's partnership in this, so.
And the lumber. The lumber was pretty new too, but, so we've had, I think, 60 plus officers the past couple of years, so.
We've got a lot of out here that are on golf course, I mean, he's very,
Yeah.
you see that's where he tends to be deployed, right?
And for bus passes, I know that we were working on.
Per location.
And discussion guide, because one of the bigger ones, it was almost more time consuming, right, to go back and get them when it's full. Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
It's
I didn't.
okay, so my plan was to purchase approximately 2,000 for this year. Between 1,800 and 2,000. I tried, I think 1,400 is what I did last year.
It is.
Yeah, and that was a whole lot of running, so I made a mental note and a physical note last year.
Well, the other thing that we talked about is making sure there's enough for A and B,
Mhm.
and then being able to collect what comes back to the
Right.
NC.
For the after.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna make sure every deployment location has additional, yeah.
If it's something we run out, it's just there's not another one.
Yeah,
And I am starting to get where people are requesting, like Lillman says that they need 200 bus passes to start.
yeah, we need that,
You can ask some numbers and for me.
Okay.
love that. That's incredible. For anybody who's unaware, for more years than I've been involved in this, we give out bus passes as a thank you to everybody who has participated in, doing a PIT survey. Knowing that there are some programs out there, this wasn't on today's agenda, but it is a constant, topic of conversation in this group. Are there other things that we would rather spend that $5 a person on? For that person, to thank them, instead of a bus pass, because I know, for instance, in the city of St. Pete. Is that still the case, free rides in the city of St. Pete through PSDA?
Yes.
If you're a veteran, there are free rides. If you have the TD pass, it's $6 to $11 a month. So are there things that we would rather spend that $5 a person on?
I did notice last year, but I was in St. Pete. That people were like, I don't need it. I mean, they did the survey, but they weren't taking the bus. It was not an incentive.
Yeah, I wonder.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I thought we asked for this pretty hard last year.
I got
We asked last year.
Oh my God, to hand out a card that they can go and get it, like if we pick back up.
I mean, it's pretty good nation. Yeah, I'll definitely ask funders about. Is that the preference of this group, a little $5 sandwich card instead of a bus pass?
And I didn't know to say Chick-fil-A.
That's not a great.
A little out there.
Yeah.
Or
just local, well, yes.
I would agree. I think it's a meal, like you said, there's so many other people that I can get on the bus free for $6, it's not quite that incentive as it was. I've seen in the past.
I would love it, but I didn't try to swap last year.
Bye. A cheeseburger, a fry, and a small one.
I thought we had a big discussion last year about.
Teresa,
There was a lot of.
I wish.
Last year. I don't know.
It's always worth going back to funders, because you never know who the grant manager might be this year compared to last year, so.
It's $2,000,
It's a lot.
McDonald's, and so we can give you $10,000. How many meals can you give us? Not a sandwich.
Yeah, meal, okay, sorry, meal vouchers. Bus pass. Okay, as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm gonna reach out to the funder and I'm gonna say this is what we wanna do. Let's have a backup plan in case they say absolutely not, that's a food expense and we cannot pay for food. So if we cannot pay for a meal voucher and we don't wanna do a bus pass, are there alternatives this group would like to explore?
We could possibly do maybe a $5 gift certificate of Visa so they can get anything that they want, possibly to pay for the people in the community.
In our program, we do that with our veterans, we do bingo every single day, and it gets people in the door and they're excited about the gift card, even though it's $5, so I feel like
That's not
might
my
hit, you know?
Yeah, the Visa gift card, we like, people fee for, but we could do like a Win Dixie or something like that, right? Like,
Walmart.
Dollar General.
Okay, so.
Ideally, you get a gift card that you can't buy alcohol with, save a lot.
You know, I was looking at some Wawa gift cards because we're in St. Pete and we know that Wawas are everywhere. It's not, I was shocked when I saw how few Wawas. I was doing some cards for folks at our lived experience meetings in Wawa. And they were like, I'm sorry, I need that, I'm not gonna be near a Wawa, so now I do 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Save a lot.
Okay, so same
Let's see.
Dollar Tree, Dollar has 2 L's. Dollar General, places like that, okay. Is there a preference between the sandwich voucher and gift card?
Do the gift cards have a fee on them?
No, I'd be going with somewhere that doesn't have a fee attached.
Okay, I thought the Visa gift cards usually do.
Yeah,
I mean, I think if we're able to provide a full meal for $5.
do the meal.
I would do the meal.
Okay,
Because even if they don't want that, they can sell them.
okay.
And then they can buy whatever they want.
All right, I like this as a plan, and I am gonna hope that there are no issues with that. And that I am reporting to y'all, we are getting meal vouchers or Walmart gift cards or something like that in email too. Okay. I feel like I hijacked what we had going on there. Is there anything else?
I mean, it's kind of scattered, so, I think that might be what I have right now. Lawson's gonna be calling the library.
Yeah.
Oh, down with Mill Park, the officer. He mentioned asking the dispatch with the sheriff's office to announce the morning of that everybody would be getting it, all officers, that it's coming time.
Right, because he said if we called, Johnson County Dispatch, notified them that we're doing an event, that on the day of, they would send it would be sent out to all, everybody out there that day, that they would know that we would be out in county, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so, does the HOA want to do that? Is that something you want me to do?
I mean, if you can add it to your to-do list, then that'd be hunky dory. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. I don't actually see any first responders in the room or online. I do know, PCSO is not going to be able to play quite as big a role this year in leading the charge for first responders, for law enforcement officers as they did last year. They are very busy at the moment, but they are still going to be an integral part of this, and are going to be very involved with what we have going on. Dominique, did you have any updates from
I reached out to two other municipalities, and they did not, and I'm interested in taking on the training, that's why we suggested the letter. Was really our primary thing, and they can be. If we want to do a separate training to market part of that level maybe, or just have them. To learn.
Okay.
I think in the past, there are a couple, one or two will go to the civilian training, but they do separate own training. That would be put on by the officer, which obviously kind of have a different vibe.
Okay. I do have one more question, Michelle, you guys, DFL has a location that primarily does the central PSBA, right?
We do, I mean, we can have our outreach people do that.
So I will take that off.
Yeah, I mean, how many people is it normally for that?
Like, they normally send quite a few.
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 people.
We have the three, all three outreach, because I mean, they're gonna volunteer for the pit, and we can just dedicate them towards that. If that's what you want, if you want to just dedicate it now, we could. And then that's when they know that that's where they'll go. They spend a lot of time out there as it is.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So I think that would be smart. So that, I mean, that's three, Elijah would be out the other way. And we're gonna have other DFL people who will sign up for the pit, specifically from our housing first. So, I mean,
Then, right, just the outreach people.
just the outreach, that they would be some, like the family work people, they're all the other programs. My goal is to get other people.
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
on that note, everybody should sign up. Your finance department should be signing up.
Yes, I'm working.
Mine was.
I am spreading the word.
How many volunteers do you have?
None. We actually have not started volunteer recruitment yet. We are still working on getting that set up in the app. And then volunteer recruitment will start from there.
When does that happen?
Because that's gonna really determine how we. Okay, I feel you, yeah.
For what it's worth, the majority of volunteers, that sign up early, from what I've seen and what I've paid attention to, our early volunteers are typically our no-show volunteers. So if you're gonna sign up, the more exuberant you feel about what you can do in 4 months. 1 month ahead of time, you're like, I know that happened, and I know I don't have the capacity for that. Yes, it is a source of stress, we're working on it.
Well, I mean, today's what, December 3rd? Am I crazy, or should we talk about not having pit? I mean, seriously, that is because there's the whole week of Christmas, right, which is we're gonna pretty much lose everything.
They may not have a home.
This is a very. It's a very real conversation. We talked at the COC board meeting, November 1st about delaying or requesting from PIT that we just don't do this year, because in actuality, PIT is only required every other year. We do PIT every year as a community because more data is always a good thing. Good data, however, is the important part of that.
Well,
Bad data is not beneficial.
If we're gonna miss people, or we're not gonna have people to really man it properly, given. I see, I know we've had lots of conversation before, and some of it is, there's a lot of good data that we could be getting because of sport stuff, and, we can incorporate questions, and, so you gotta wonder, I mean, what is the COC? They wanna have it on time.
The COC voted to have it on time. The COC left it up to this group whether we would ask for a 1-month extension. And at our last meeting, we decided we would not. However, there is always the option to go back to HUD and say, just kidding, we want to do this in February, please.
So I definitely think that we should consider that. Like 100% think we should consider that, because outside of the volunteer registration, they're training to do that. Like, and nobody's gonna train for Chris.
The training normally happens like the second week of January. So. I thought recruitment was gonna be live between last meeting and this meeting. However, there have been some changes on how we could potentially recruit or how we could register people. That's what's now the new snag. I would move towards going back to the original way of how we recruit and just do the WooFoo or whatever form it is that we do all the recruitment with. But to me, they didn't want us to put, I was of the opinion either pause it, take a year off, or we need to do it on that. So delaying it a month, they're not doing that. Okay, well, that was my, those, and then they decided that we had that. So last month, we as a group decided to move forward with the original date, that will be the exact same as it has been. Because of the limit that people could do. So that's kind of the more of the history. I'm not, I mean, we're a committee, right? I'm not stuck on one way or another. My suggestion for the new way they wanted to do the recruitment is that it's gonna be very hard and tedious. But it was something that people expressed interest in moving forward with.
What's the new way?
Yeah, so the new way, that was presented was through, basically they could, register through the app. With a profile, they could even register down to what, their deployment would be.
And then we get populated.
I thought it was very complicated and hard to do with a short turnaround, but I thought it was brought to the deployment committee and you guys wanted it.
And yesterday, I didn't know that all the
I
other
was like, they said yes.
built in, it's an option, we didn't try it last year, we can try it this year. I didn't know that things had to be completely rebuilt, so my fault on not asking a clarifying question.
No. I didn't know it would delay you.
So knowing that, what is the option, is to go back and do it the old way so that we could really get back on track?
Would that help us get back on track?
Will that help us?
I mean,
Do you?
I have a,
Definitely, all you gotta do is update the date.
I mean, that's literally it. It is, we have everything from years past. I could have that out by the end of the week.
So that's what I'm saying, so in theory, we could start the recruitment and open registration like next week.
Like
We
this
can
week?
start that.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm to do it. We could definitely, if we go back. If we go back to the old way of volunteer registration, and by the old way, so everybody knows, I'm not last year. Then I could have stuff sent out, I can send it to Dominique, for approval by Thursday.
Yeah.
And
If it's the same, it's approved.
yeah, it's gonna be the same with new dates, and maybe I'll decide I didn't like my grammar very much.
Change one
It's gonna be the same. So, yeah, I could have that ready to go, I could have a Facebook event, I could do that, by Friday.
I think it's like 2 weeks before people, like the holiday, you know what I mean, when people are still working, talking about it, right, you know, talking to your peers.
Yeah.
And then it goes, let's see, when was it last year? Is Tom already?
We have started volunteer recruitment in like September.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then people, like you said, it's too far out, okay.
But it looks like, did we do it? It looks like we did it like the week of the 8th, roughly last year. So that was the Monday, the second Monday of the month, so we haven't done, I don't know what's going on with the training committee, but it would be. Probably with me, so they're either fine, moving
I
that.
think it's the 20th. 20th?
Yeah, and 20th, thank you. So that would be the week, like you could do the 8th to the 17th, which would give us the 30th is almost 2 weeks later. So people could be registering up through the time.
Yeah, there is, because we're doing it so late in January this year, so I was doing last Thursday, sometimes that means like the 24th this year, 30th.
So that gives, I mean, it's kind of there. I mean, that makes more sense, because I'm with you, really feeling that, like, knowing who's going where. You know, how many. To figure out how we have to figure out what the plans.
Right. But if we did push it back a month till February, what would that date be? And the other question is, I guess, why not maybe push it back a month? If our goal is to get more people recruited?
All great questions. So we would probably be doing, our pit overlapping with Hillsborough's at that point. Hillsborough, they do theirs in February every year because they get a special dispensation from HUD because of Gasparilla. I always think about trying to do pit during Gasparilla and what a nightmare that would be. Do we serve? I don't know. So we would be doing a little bit of an overlap. I don't know exactly what days Hillsborough does. We would still do probably last Thursday of the month. It would just be of February.
Is there still on?
Sarah,
So the 22nd?
is that right? Wait, your phone is working faster than my computer, right? Yeah, so we would be looking at, that's the date we would probably be looking at. The differences there, like Dominique said, our data would not be apples to apples in that case. There's maybe an argument to be made for not being quite apples to apples this year as well, but that would change the data comparison a little bit more because we do last birthday in January every year for pretty sure decades at this point. And we would be doing Thursday, or we would be doing February, so that is a difference. Other than that, the differences would really just be that we would have a little bit more time. It wouldn't be when folks are expecting it. It might not be something that folks have built into their calendar. I think that some organizations likely have it built into their calendar as a big in-service day. And it is worth noting that the vast majority of volunteers come from service organizations. But again, it would also provide more time. So.
And I'll say Tampa or Hillsborough doing theirs on, they're doing theirs on like February 27th, actually, on Thursday as well. But, their volunteer registration isn't live yet, either. Okay. I mean, it's a month afterwards, but their registration goes live next week. So how impacted our recruitment will be.
Yeah.
Because most people, like, I'll use you as an example, right? It's like, hey, we need some more DFL, all those people get voluntold. Right. That's why they're committed. Right. Okay. You're right. So you will. I don't know, the deals of the whole night shelter, like, put, I don't know, if they're able to get it out this week.
I mean, unless full night shelters activate on Friday, because that's the possibility. Then I should be able to do it. I should be able to get that stuff to you by first thing Friday morning. And I say that there's a chance that I'll be working on it at 8 p.m. But I should be able to get that to you by then and out to everybody. Or if you don't need to see it, out to everybody by Friday, so that you have it to share with people over the weekend, with your teams on Monday. Does that sound like it'll be a timeline? Not ideal. I don't expect anybody to jump for joy.
No, but it sounds more in line with where we were last year.
No, do we have to report this every year for the NOFA?
PIT? We do report on PIT, for the NOFA, yeah.
Yeah, so if we don't do PID, that can't be a part of the NOFA for next year.
For what it's worth, that is actually moved to a 2-year cycle for the NOFA, so there is no NOFA application.
But the COC board said we have.
But it's good.
What we're trying to use, what is the best way to accommodate that? You do it right.
Yes.
I'm not in total, like, I feel like if we can get it out and be in line with where we were last year. I mean, I was on the deployment committee last year, so was it a hard time with the timeline last year to get people to work, let's make those decisions? But, you know what I mean?
I think, I'm thinking about what we did during COVID, not 2021, so we didn't do a hit in 2021, but 2022, we had the main numbers and then we had kind of a backup plan. So we had specific zones that we would cut out, highlighted in case we didn't have the right number.
I think we also, like, I know on the mid-county, I cut a good amount. They're probably gonna be busier. Like I said, I cut and then combined some areas with that in mind. But I think also sometimes we do have volunteers that scour a whole area and it's hit or miss if they find anybody, right? Then you have 3 people. So potentially with the bigger areas, maybe they'll have more luck.
Well, I believe if we are gonna try to do it, we need to do the little bit more.
Yeah, great, I agree.
All right, so, volunteer recruitment will start this weekend, but officially for all of us, our agency volunteer recruitment will start on Monday. I'll make sure that everybody has the material, on hand. Gonna look a lot like last year, but for what it's worth, the COC board was told that when they made the determination to move forward with this year's kit, or technically next year's kit, but they were told at the time that we would be recycling a lot of materials. So this year was not particularly different.
But I mean, I think given the terms that we have, we wanna get the best outcome, I think I can go way to do it. The most, we're gonna need more people and do it timely.
Yep.
That
That works for me.
So I got a question, so for the youth fit ones, we're ready, like, we don't have to recruit any volunteers, or we just use our practice on hand.
Oh, you should.
or just a little bit of-
Well,
So it'd be general, they would register like any, so it wouldn't be like a targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Should be, as someone walks in, there should be some that's already there.
yeah, that'll be probably at least a few of us for, or.
yeah, and you could do some of those phone surveys as well, but definitely have your team sign up to go to the. And make sure that once we have the volunteer registration link out there, that your organizations are posting it on social media, are sharing it with your volunteers, are putting it into newsletters, you're mentioning it in meetings. This is the thing, my husband does 2 to 3 shifts every pit.
But, yeah. That's why I'm.
I would like to entertain something else too, so for there's a CNC meeting in January, correct? I would like, there to be an update for the January meeting that also includes the volunteer registrations and making sure we have buy-in from COC agencies. So there are some providers who just consistently don't provide volunteers.
Yeah.
And we can, maybe ask the COC chair to send out a letter to, some of the agency leads and whatnot as well.
Like we already have the save the date and we were asking for more than normal, with our different.
Yeah.
And, Dominique, it sounds like you were talking about the survey when I walked in. I was kind of suggest if you hadn't thought of it or somebody already, that maybe we consider adding a question about the hurricanes impacting, or creating their homelessness this time.
So there's a question that asks, your current, episode of homelessness. And there's like 15 to choose from. And so we can pass it, so natural disaster, you think. So again, it's not a big change, but it's not. It isn't.
We just on the flyer here, like the date for the fifth count. Is
No.
there gonna be a flyer or?
There will, we will be at this point, basically. At the very least, the first thing that everybody's gonna be getting from me will be a reflection of last year for the new date. Not for last year, looked great.
It's fine.
Sam is on the line, but she did a great job last year. Yep.
And I think that's actually a good pivot. So one of the other subcommittees is our, marketing subcommittee. I don't believe we were ended up with the chair for that, correct?
No, we had a couple of people volunteer. There was never a chair. We haven't really had.
So I think it's fair to say that we can just recycle what we had last year. The chair from last year no longer with, the agency either.
Well, she was ignoring me.
Thank you. So she is no longer with, so yes, I think we move forward with materials with the new dates. There's something, maybe. You training?
Me, yeah.
Victoria's.
Every year. Still, if anybody wants to be in charge of this, you're welcome to, though based on the discussion we just had, can't imagine you're jumping at the opportunity. This year, we will be recycling a lot of the same stuff. Training is going to look a lot like it did last year. We will be doing virtual training. We're gonna do a few in-person trainings. There will be a video training component so that everybody gets the same walk through the app. I'm going to work on making that, short. Getting that video in there and still only doing 1 hour training is tough, I gotta be honest with y'all, but I'm gonna work on cutting it back a little bit this year. Last year I did it on 1.25 speed, which I think worked for most people, but a couple people were like, what is she doing? What is?
Maybe if you did one for people that's done it forever, right? We can go through this in probably 15 minutes.
Well, and that's one of the things that we had talked about last year, but that didn't end up coming to fruition was the, repeat volunteers, and doing a training for that. And I'm completely, if the group is okay with it, I'm completely, okay doing virtual repeat volunteer training where we don't go through, I would do it.
Right, I think if they're like having repeats that have done it, it's like, okay, just refresher on, you know, the process, the app and, you know, that kind of
It's
stuff.
about the history of the beginning.
Yeah.
Part of the why it's it for the repeat people.
Could we do, something we haven't done, you guys have no idea. For talent, we all have a talent license for use of Pinellas. That would probably be more than half the users who we just created a talent.
And Monty and I talked about that. Like, it might have been last year, or the year before, I don't remember. And there was some sort of hold up to that, which is why I did so there is for team leaders now, there is a virtual training that you can watch and a video you can watch on your own. And then there's a Google survey where you answer some random questions about it. And that's how I've been doing it, but we couldn't get it into talent. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. Okay.
And then again, I know we can create new profiles in town, that would be pretty tedious, but for all those existing agency emails. That are licenses. Easy to go around, but we can work well.
Yeah.
The order recorded, like, because I remember taking the, for the lead, a recorded training for the refresh people, and as an option. I think new people, it's good live.
It's good to have the whole-
Yeah.
But the repeats, yeah.
So Blossom, are you suggesting even not doing? Because what I would be suggesting there for the repeat, and not that I'm saying this is what we should do, what I had in my head, was that we would do a virtual training that's like 30 minutes instead of a virtual training that's an hour with repeat volunteers. Are you suggesting we just send out the video like we do for team leaders and say, you can sign up for regular training, you can sign up for one of our 2 refresher courses, or you can do this on your own time if you fill out this accompanying survey. Is that?
I mean, initially I was thinking like the 30 minutes, but then Dominique talked about the town, and I thought, yeah, maybe give the option of the 3, you know.
I mean, you have
Or
people
four.
that's done this for 5 years, right? That can go see anything being done,
Yeah.
right? There's no, unless there's some you know, major change, and there's no major change.
No, it's the same as
Yeah, it's the same, yeah.
So I think giving people the option
to do a self-paced training.
that have done it,
The only, and I love them, right? Whereas I feel like the people who had the issues with logins were ones who did it virtually. So I remember as well with deployment and everybody had to check in and show their talk and all of that. Like the ones that did it in person, they didn't have to, like, they had been looked over their shoulder and they verified that they've done. So if you're doing a refresher app, you'd be like, yeah, I did this year. You may have the app, and you're like, there's a proof of log and stuff. Even if it's just one of the questions, where we're really saying, please make sure you log in, you've done the app, log in, you send you. Steps.
Verify you have, yeah, verify you log in.
Or if there's a screenshot, maybe that can be uploaded, that shows that they logged in, and turn off, but some way, I think that was the biggest. The people who weren't in the app or people who didn't virtually didn't actually.
What if we gave people like 1 week to do self-paced training and that deadline was before regular training ended?
Yeah,
So that we can verify everybody who says they would do the self-paced training actually did it, and then chase them down with metaphorical pitchforks if they haven't actually done the thing. While there's still training going on.
do you get instant notification of who's done it, logged in?
We have to run on to it somewhere, right?
But you could cross-reference them, with who says that they've done it. I mean, I think if you can do that.
We can also, Dominique, what if we did, what if we built a practice survey that you could only do in training?
I don't know who do that.
Is this creating more work for you guys on the back end to have all these different things? I'm just wondering if it just helps to have like, you can sign up for any of these training times, but these 3 slots for people that have done it before, and it's going to just be a short overview on what's changing on the survey and what's being handed out as the items or, you know, something like that. Like you can either take the long one or here's 3 shorter ones if you've taken it before, instead of you guys trying to put them on different platforms and stuff. I don't know. Just want to make you guys have too much work.
You did that and you sent out just a bunch of blasts about the app beforehand. Like literally, I'm sending you blast after blast that you have to have this downloaded and done before you show up.
They ignore it.
The moment they start looking at it, it's over. I mean, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I used to say it from being, when I was taking meeting last year, it was chaos because there was people that didn't have it downloaded, they weren't signed into it, there wasn't it was a lot of. And then people got outraged and then it was a whole thing last year.
Yeah, there was a hullabaloo.
Yes.
Yeah.
so maybe say some what Arrow said and what you're saying about the app. We just do the 2 options, the abbreviated, if you've done it in the past, in the full training, whether that be the full virtual or live.
And for what it's worth, if your team members are the kind of people who like want to do the self-paced training, maybe they just sign up to be a team leader. If they've done it before, sign up to be a team leader and you can do a self-paced training that way.
And we promote people to take me all the time.
We do, I also did.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be too.
I promote people all the time based on me.
You done it once, here you go.
That's why we have you participated in PIP before, and you can say, yes, yes in another county, yes in Pinellas County.
Because, I mean, it is chaotic, if they're not ready to go the morning of, or the time of, there's usually not enough people at the.
Yeah. And we will, so that everybody knows, HLA will have staff members stationed at each deployment center again. That's what we've done for the last few years, make sure that there's help with the app. So we have at least one person there per shift, to be that technical assistant. And then last year, the county team, there's nothing that the county team hasn't done super generously over the last couple of years with Pitt. But they super generously woke up like 4 o'clock in the morning and worked until like 8 o'clock at night to be that technical assistant. So we will have those opportunities in case anybody does show up and needs help. But hopefully it is my app cracked and I can get it to reopen and not, what's a ArcGIS? What's Pitt?
So, I mean, the other thing that I'm thinking that we might consider is starting everything 30 minutes earlier. I mean, if we get everybody in and their apps are ready to go and they can leave at 5:45 for their site. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. We could, I know I was about to say we could add if you need extra assistance, show up early, but we did that last year and I don't think that helped.
No, I think just start that time.
Like your team set to go, right?
Yeah, and if you go at 5:30 and all your people are
Ready to
yeah,
go.
or let's go.
So,
And that could set you up the rest of the day for being able to start the other shift 30 minutes early.
so do you think that do we have people signing up then for a 6 a.m. and showing up as early as 5 a.m. or do we have people signing up for a 5:30 a.m. with us knowing we'll send them out sometime between 5:30?
Correct.
Okay, so you want to sign people up for shifts that are 3.5 hours instead of 3 hours?
Or maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes.
No, we already tell them to show up 15 minutes before their shift time, right? So you're just saying that, I know team leads, we tell to arrive 30 minutes before.
I mean, some of the teams will get together quickly, like the team lead gets them, they've done it a million times, they got their 2 people, here's where we're going, and they kind of go off to the side, and they're like standing there waiting, you might as well send them out. You know what I mean, and maybe just working through that at the deployment centers, instead of trying to say, okay, it's time, go. Right, you know, and then they may come back earlier because they're done, and then, you know, it's just gonna flow, but
Yeah, I don't know. Who wants to be there at 5:30?
not me.
Work some long days, don't we?
Yeah. So we have to be there.
Yeah. Yes, that would be, all the deployment center folks there a little earlier.
And I think people may say, okay, he's, okay, I can do it, and then it's like, then you're not people running late, if they, then you're gonna be behind even further than if you would have just left. Is my opinion.
But if we said your shift starts at 5:30, get there 15 minutes early, the folks who do show up at 5:30, which let's be real, the majority of people, would be on time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really early for getting set up at the sites. Like, I know one of the issues, not that it hangs on this, but you know, trying to get to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever with coffee to get coffee for those early risers and get here on time to open up. By, you know, usually trying to get here by 5 to get ready to have people like the team leads show up at 5:30. I don't know how Dama or whoever's running the Clearwater one feels.
I mean, I feel like I sleep there for 2 days.
I honestly don't feel like I mean, yeah, it takes a little bit sometimes for the tech. I think we push really hard to get people, like if they're in the virtual classes, like maybe they screenshot and hold up their phone or something, or do a little survey at the end, how many got logged in to the thing. If you didn't, put your email in the chat or something, we can help you after, like even just stay on for a few minutes to tech help after. I don't know.
You guys told everybody to be there 15 minutes before, so you leave it, you move to 6 and you take 15 minutes before, that's about 3 minutes.
And if they want to use their buddy. Right.
Yeah. So what
You wanna be paired up?
So we tell team leads to arrive 30 minutes early, we tell regular volunteers to arrive 15 minutes early, and we tell everybody, like Dominique said, if you want to be in a group together, get there 30 minutes. early. Which is why I know that if we made it 5:30 and told people to show up at 5:15, they would still come at 5:30.
Okay, so 6, and then we will be there.
Do you want us to start telling people to be there at 20 minutes early? Give you an extra 5 minutes?
No, I think,
15 to 30, keep it as is.
Yeah, I would make, I don't remember what the language says, but it's like checked in 15 minutes early, not arrive 15 minutes early.
Okay, so
We
maybe
gotta find parking, we should get HEB on parking.
Oh,
Yeah. We know. Yeah, 15 minutes early and then you're driving in circles. It's not- Yeah.
Well, 5:30 will be leaving.
A lockdown workforce, and we start working on more parking, but yeah, we're working on it, but it is a problem. Sure.
Get your own.
Agency has its challenges. I keep telling Barb, they need a storage facility and a parking lot, that's all we need.
I would like a permanent meeting space over meeting.
It's my wish list.
Okay, I think that makes sense, and we can really emphasize in the letter, and we can make a point. I feel like we do this already, but we can try and make a bigger point to emphasize in training, like, get there 30 minutes early. That doesn't mean get there, arrive on site, ready to find a parking spot.
Right, be in the deployment center at this time.
Yeah, I think we can drive back home, arrive.
and then I think we need to go back to what I think Lawson said about short version, traditional version. I like that, and just trying to keep it simple. Selling version.
I don't want to change. Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't want to change it this year because we're already too far into it, but about the parking situation, maybe thinking next year of doing like a 9:30 to 12:30, so there's the half-hour gap for people returning from the first shift, but it's only usually team leads, I think, coming back these days. We don't have as much supplies as we used to sending out, so I don't know if it's an issue. Maybe kind of monitor it this year and see. That's always the quickest turnaround. The other shifts have the in-between more so.
I mean, I don't know that it's too late to change that. What do you think, Dana? To change the 9 AM to 9:30?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
What do you think, Tony?
No, I don't think it's fun.
Yeah, Arrow, is that something you want to see happen?
Our parking, I think, is okay here. We got a bigger lot, so I don't know about what South County and North County think, if that would help with their parking situation or not. So
I mean, yeah, we can always like a Cracker Jack box parking lot.
but that also helps too with like bus passes, like you get all the stuff back or whatever we're using, right? The gift cards and stuff like that. That helps get those back so we can put them ready for the next groups. Otherwise it's like back to back, or we need extras trying to get them ready for that second group to go out.
Do you think that would be easier for your volunteers that are coming up to your location as far as parking and navigating? Because the team leads from the 6 to 9 shift will come back between 8:45, 9:15 with all of their stuff, drop it off, and then head out. But also same time, you have team leads and volunteers for the 9 to 12 shift showing up 8:30 to 9 AM. You're trying to get them out the door. So do you think that it would be better from a deployment center manager perspective to do 9:30 to 12:30 to 30?
I think so, yeah, that would give folks a chance to second going those for sure. I mean, we can put out.
Yeah, we can get it done, we got it.
Yes, too, we can.
Can we have a share until 9:30?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I have sorry, you made a motion for the 30-minute volunteer training. You're making a motion for the.
And I can't second, so if you need a second on.
Also, I second.
Which one?
I'm sure Michelle is vote. No.
I did want discussion, sorry, one quick discussion, is for stacking, on the 30, on the short terming. I almost wouldn't want to give them the option of short training unless we know that they've done it before, so all I recommend is that we have, agenda, or we'll make an amendment, or amendment that it would be those trained last year, like it would just be a, certification store, and they would get a different.
Right, we have to be able to separate, it, otherwise, I don't do that, yeah, right, I mean, possibly, I'm saying the same thing, like, we need to make sure that we know that they're known that they've done it before. It really just be that small. Let's say before, like, the training series was sent out, there's like a duplication, and then was identified, get that short and long option, and anyone else just gets the long. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you only get picked from these, and that's it.
So we have two motions on the floor to address. The first motion, Dama made, Michelle second, to have a virtual repeat volunteer training that only takes 30 minutes for volunteers who have participated before. Dominique has made a friendly amendment to that to say that to just ensure that we are only sending that option to confirmed repeat volunteers. So that no first timers are signing up for 30-minute training. So those are the motions on the floor, Madam Chair.
Good one.
Call for a vote.
Oh, so there you go, call for a vote on the, both of them. Yes, and that pass through lobby. There's on the, you're going on the right side. For both together? No, we didn't do that. Let's do that. Right, the short and long training, all in favor? Okay, and the moving 9 to 9:30, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, none opposed?
Excellent. All right, we've got support online as well.
Thank you, everyone. It is actually 4:29, so we, what are we missing? Are we missing any?
That's really it. Youth, Nate just went to the bathroom. Megan, if Megan Jetter, if you wouldn't mind staying on for a minute, I would appreciate it. And anybody else would like to discuss some youth stuff, if you want to stay behind. I appreciate you. Other than that, that's really it.
We had fast paced, full meeting,
The shelters are open tonight. Let me know if you need information.
Right. I can't get lunch every around, voting and not, I'm going to pick up.
Well,
Okay, gotta go. I'm waiting on the whole.